Welcome to GeoCapitalist, where we decode global wealth one power shift at a time. Denmark just dropped a $3.4 billion bombshell, not on the battlefield, but on the balance sheets. Prime Minister Mette Frederickson's government says it's buy, snapping up new European-made defense systems in a move that sidelines the United States. This isn't just procurement, it's a strategic shift. Billions in orders from France, Germany, and Norway, zero from America. Quick note before we dive in, the visuals you'll see are simulated, not the actual systems, for obvious reasons. With that said, subscribe to the channel and let's continue. Because this isn't just Denmark upgrading its security, it's a quiet earthquake for NATO, for Europe's defense industry, and for Washington's influence. In February 2025, Denmark announced a dramatic budget shift, an extra 50 billion Danish kroner, nearly $7 billion, in just 2 years to turbocharge its defense. That pushes Copenhagen's defense spending to over 3.2% of GDP, one of the highest in Europe. Why so much, so fast? 2 reasons. First, to fill glaring gaps in its national security architecture, especially air defense, which had been neglected for decades. And second, to assert independence. For too long, Denmark relied on U.S. equipment or delayed purchases. Now, it's flipping the script. Here's the kicker. Unlike most NATO countries, which still turn to Washington for every major system, Denmark says it will buy almost entirely from Europe. A brand new acceleration fund allows rapid purchases, skipping long tenders and bureaucracy. This isn't small-scale shopping. The headline item alone, a complete ground-based air defense suite, will cost 25 billion kroner, or $3.4 billion. Add naval upgrades, logistics, and personnel expansion, and you've got a package worth more than Denmark's entire annual defense budget just a decade ago. But the numbers only tell part of the story. The real shock came when Copenhagen revealed who they were buying from and who they weren't. Denmark's shopping spree includes some of Europe's biggest names. France's MBDA, delivering the VL Mica system, one of the world's most advanced short-to-medium-range interceptors. Germany's Diehl Defense, providing Iris-T SLM batteries, a system proven in Ukraine against drones and missiles. Norway's Kongsberg, leasing out its NASAMS batteries to give Denmark interim coverage until the new systems arrive. Total price tag, over $3.4 billion, and every cent going to European companies. Notice what's missing? Washington's usual favorites, Patriot, THAAD, or Aegis. Denmark didn't bite, and that's the quiet revolution. Denmark isn't just rearming, it's reinforcing Europe's industrial base while bypassing America's. For Paris, Berlin, and Oslo, this is a windfall. For Washington, it's a warning. The official line from Copenhagen is pragmatic. We'll buy what we can get fastest, but insiders admit the symbolism is deliberate. Denmark is signaling that Europe can equip itself and doesn't need to default to U.S. suppliers. The result? Billions flowing into European factories, jobs, and R&D pipelines. France gets to export its flagship interceptor. Germany secures another showcase for its Iris-T, and Norway cements its role as NATO's air defense landlord. For Denmark, it's more than shopping. It's industrial diplomacy, and it reshapes who gets paid when NATO countries go shopping. Let's break down the $3.4 billion air defense package. VL Mica from France. This system can shoot down aircraft, drones, and incoming threats up to 40 kilometers away. Price tag, several $100 million. Delivery begins by 2026. Iris-T SLM from Germany. Extended range, capable of neutralizing threats at over 40 kilometers and altitudes above 20 kilometers. Each unit costs between $150 and $200 million. Multiple batteries have been ordered. NASAMS leasing from Norway. This is the quick fix. Instead of waiting years, Denmark is renting NASAMS launchers, ensuring coverage by late 2025. Why this mix? Because Denmark doesn't want to wait until 2030 for US Patriots. By combining French, German, and Norwegian systems, it gains layered protection much faster. The price is steep. A decade ago, Denmark scrapped its Hawk batteries to save money. Now it's paying billions to replace them. But the government says it's worth it. With Russia stepping up aerial campaigns, no NATO country can afford to leave its skies undefended. And here's the twist. This isn't the end. Copenhagen has signaled it will soon add long-range systems. Two contenders remain: the US Patriot and the European SAMP-T, made by France and Italy. If Denmark keeps the European first policy, it could snub Washington again. That would be the real shockwave. A quick pause here. Geocapitalist is 100% independent. We don't take sponsors and we keep every video ad-safe so you can trust the analysis. If you'd like to support this work, you can tip us or join as a member through the link below. Every contribution fuels our research and keeps insights free for everyone. Thank you for being part of this journey. All right, let's continue. For Europe's defense industry, Denmark's pivot is a gold rush. France's MBDA secures another export win for its Mica system. Germany's deal proves the IRIS-T isn't just a niche weapon, but a NATO standard. Norway's Kongsberg cashes rent checks while reinforcing its influence, and all of it reinforces a bigger trend. Europe is rearming itself with European kit. Germany is spending over $100 billion on its Zeitenwende rearmament. Poland is spending 4.8% of GDP. France is ramping up Rafale fighter exports. Denmark's contracts are part of this wave, billions in European-to-European procurement. The result? A feedback loop. European companies grow stronger, deliver faster, and become more competitive. NATO's eastern flank gets layered coverage without waiting for U.S. approval. Washington is quietly concerned. U.S. defense giants, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, are watching contracts worth billions flow past them. Denmark, once seen as a loyal buyer of U.S. kit, is suddenly Europe first. And here's the kicker. If Denmark can do it, so can others. Expect countries like the Netherlands, Belgium, and even Finland to follow. Why wait for Patriots when European systems are available now? For Washington, it's not just lost revenue, it's lost leverage. For decades, the U.S. assumed Europe would always buy American. From F-16 fighters to Patriot batteries, Washington's industry was the backbone of NATO. But Denmark's pivot shows the cracks. By spending $3.4 billion on European systems, Copenhagen signals that NATO's security architecture doesn't need to run through Washington. This isn't about friendship. The U.S. remains Denmark's ally. But procurement is about power. When billions bypass U.S. companies, Washington loses influence. And when multiple countries follow, America's leverage weakens. Consider this. U.S. Patriots cost around $1 billion per battery and take years to deliver. Europe's IRIS-T can be delivered in months at a fraction of the price. For a small country like Denmark, the choice is obvious. But for Washington, it's a nightmare scenario. Every contract lost means jobs lost at home. And every European contract won means more independence for Brussels. Denmark's decision is small in dollar terms compared to America's trillion-dollar industry, but symbolically, it's huge. It says, Europe can look after itself, and the U.S. can't stop it. What does this mean for NATO? In one word, diversification. By choosing French, German, and Norwegian systems, Denmark ensures interoperability with Europe's strongest allies. It also ensures its skies are covered sooner rather than later. Critics worry about compatibility. Will IRIS-T batteries talk to Mica launchers? Can NASAMS integrate with both? NATO planners insist yes. The alliance's integrated air defense architecture is designed for mixed fleets. In fact, some argue this strengthens NATO. Instead of relying on a single supplier, Europe builds resilience. If the US wavers politically, Europe has options. If one factory in America shuts down, production continues in Europe. This doesn't reduce NATO's cohesion, it reduces NATO's dependency. And for Canada, Poland, and others watching closely, Denmark's model offers a template. Invest big, buy fast, buy European. Of course, there are risks. First, cost overruns. Denmark's $7 billion fund is ambitious, but integrating multiple systems is expensive. Training personnel across 3 platforms adds complexity. Second, delivery timelines. France and Germany promise quick delivery, but production lines are stretched. Ukraine's urgent needs already push IRIS-T schedules to the limit. Third, geopolitics. Washington won't block Denmark, but losing contracts worth billions won't go unnoticed. Expect quiet lobbying for Copenhagen to choose US patriots when it comes to long-range systems. Finally, public opinion. Denmark is a small country with just under 6 million people. Spending billions on defense when healthcare and housing costs are rising is politically sensitive. But the government insists, in today's Europe, there is no alternative. Still, even critics admit the old days are gone. Denmark cannot defend its skies without investing billions. And if that money goes to Europe instead of the US, so be it. So, what's the bottom line? Denmark just rewrote the script. With a $7 billion surge in defense spending and $3.4 billion in European air defense purchases, it proved that NATO countries don't need to default to US suppliers. France, Germany, and Norway are the winners. Washington is the loser, and Denmark is the pioneer. This isn't just about equipment, it's about leverage. Billions that once flowed into American factories now stay in Europe. Influence that once sat in Washington now tilts toward Paris, Berlin, and Oslo. The stakes go far beyond Denmark. If one of NATO's smaller members can spend billions without buying American, why not others? Why not Belgium, the Netherlands, or Finland? And here's the question. Is this the start of a European defense revolution, or just Denmark's shortcut? Either way, the message is unmistakable. Denmark is saying, buy, 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 but not from the US, and the US can't stop it. That's geo-capitalist, decoding Denmark's $3.4 billion European pivot, where budgets meet geopolitics. If you found this breakdown valuable, watch our next video. It connects directly to what's unfolding. And don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us decode these global shifts without compromise. Tell us in the comments, is Denmark setting a precedent for Europe, or is this just a one-off? Either way, the world is watching. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.